If you manage login and fraud risk in 2026, you have likely felt the limits of SMS one-time passwords, delivery delays, phishing kits that relay codes in real time, SIM swap and port-out fraud, and rising user abandonment have turned OTPs into a costly liability. Glide Identity proposes a different foundation, SIM-based cryptographic authentication backed by mobile carriers, designed to eliminate passwords and reduce fraud at scale. Glide Identity was founded by CEO Eran Haggiag with a single goal: to move beyond knowledge and possession factors that are easily intercepted or socially engineered. The company recently secured $20 million in Series A funding, led by Crosspoint Capital Partners, a signal that institutional investors believe the time has come for carrier-grade authentication in consumer applications. According to Crunchbase rankings, Glide's growth score stands at 96 and its heat score at 93, placing the startup among the top performers globally based on measured traction. What exactly does SIM-based cryptographic authentication mean? Every SIM contains secrets provisioned by the carrier. These secrets enable the network to run cryptographic challenges that prove a device and subscriber are genuine, without exposing the keys themselves. Glide integrates with carrier infrastructure and device capabilities to orchestrate a proof of possession tied to the SIM and subscriber record. When a user attempts to log in or approve a sensitive action, the platform triggers a network-backed verification. The result is a high-confidence signal that the right device and number are present, accomplished without sending fragile codes over SMS. This approach is powerful against common threats. Phishing pages and adversary-in-the-middle kits can trick users into typing OTP codes, but they cannot easily replicate a carrier challenge that stays below the application layer. SIM swap detection also improves because the platform can incorporate indicators such as recent SIM changes, porting events, or mismatches between device characteristics and subscriber data. These signals enable adaptive risk decisions, for example, allowing low-risk logins to remain frictionless while stepping up verification for suspect sessions. A frequent question is whether Glide uses AI. Glide's core trust is deterministic cryptography rooted in the SIM and carrier network. Around that core, organizations can apply machine learning and rules-based scoring to correlate anomalies, detect patterns, and tune policy. For example, models can weigh the age of a SIM, velocity of login attempts, IP reputation, device fingerprint attributes, and geolocation consistency to refine a risk score. In short, cryptography proves possession and binding, while AI or advanced analytics orchestrate context. How does Glide fit with passkeys and WebAuthn? Passkeys create passwordless, phishing-resistant credentials bound to the device's secure enclave, typically synced across ecosystems from Apple, Google, and Microsoft. SIM-based verification complements this by tying identity to the mobile network and subscriber record. Many teams deploy both: Glide for immediate network-backed possession checks and SIM swap defense, and passkeys for local user presence and biometric confirmation. This layered strategy creates independent roots of trust that resist a wider range of attacks. Consider deployment and developer experience. Glide is consumed via SDKs and APIs that embed into new or existing login and transaction flows. Enterprises can integrate it with customer identity platforms such as Okta, Auth0, and Ping Identity, and connect results to risk engines and SIEM tools. The policy layer typically allows granular control over when to require SIM-based verification, how to combine it with device biometrics, and what to do if risk factors exceed thresholds. Common use cases include passwordless sign-in, replacing both passwords and OTPs, step-up authentication for high-value actions like wire transfers or changes to payout details, account recovery without call center callbacks, and transaction verification in fintech and banking. E-commerce platforms adopt it to lower fraud at checkout, while crypto exchanges and wallets use it to harden withdrawals and reset flows. Marketplaces, gig economy apps, insurers, and mobility providers apply it to deter account takeover and reduce operational friction. Security architecture and threat model are central to adoption. Glide's value comes from leveraging secrets that never leave the SIM and from challenge response protocols executed through carrier partnerships. Because these verifications are out of band from the user interface, they bypass many phishing and social engineering vectors. The platform augments this with telemetry, such as SIM tenure, device SIM alignment, and network-level metadata. When organizations add their own business signals, like user tenure, payment behavior, or historical device profiles, the risk engine becomes even more discriminating. Privacy and data protection matter. SIM-based verification should minimize personally identifiable data movement and restrict use to authentication and fraud prevention. Buyers should assess data retention policies, cross-border data flows, incident response procedures, and alignment with regional privacy regulations. Glide's architecture is designed to prove possession and binding without exposing underlying secrets, which helps align with data minimization principles. Pricing and commercial model are typically usage-based. Most teams evaluate per-verification pricing, monthly active user tiers, or enterprise bundles that include a committed volume. The cost comparison usually centers on reducing SMS spend, lowering fraud losses from account takeover, and improving conversion by removing OTP friction. When building a business case, track metrics like successful logins per session, abandonment during step-up, help desk resets avoided, and chargebacks or ATO attempts stopped. How does Glide compare to alternatives? SMS OTP providers such as Twilio Verify and Telesign remain broadly deployed but face growing bypass by attackers. Prove and other mobile identity vendors use carrier data to raise trust levels. Passwordless platforms like HYPR, Transmit Security, and Trisona emphasize FIDO-based credentials. Customer identity leaders including Okta and Ping Identity offer orchestration and MFA choices. Glide differentiates by making the SIM and carrier network the primary cryptographic route, rather than delivering codes or relying solely on device-bound credentials. Implementation typically follows a phased approach. First, run Glide in observe mode to gather signals and calibrate risk thresholds. Next, enable silent verification for low-risk sessions to improve conversion. Then enforce step-up SIM checks for risky actions or when anomalies such as fresh SIM change are detected. Finally, pair SIM-based verification with passkeys for sensitive operations, giving users a fast experience while materially raising the cost of attack. What outcomes should teams expect? The most consistent results are fewer OTP-related support tickets, lower SMS delivery costs, reduced successive SIM swap-driven account takeover, and higher login completion rates on mobile. Because authentication happens mostly in the background, users perceive the product as faster and simpler, which often translates to higher engagement and fewer abandoned sessions. For due diligence, security leaders should request architecture documentation, carrier coverage maps, supported geographies, SDK and API references, service-level commitments, incident response processes, and integration guides for their CIAM and SIEM stacks. Ask for proof-of-concept support and clear measurement plans that tie authentication changes to fraud, cost, and conversion KPIs. In summary, Glide Identity represents a meaningful shift in digital authentication. By anchoring trust in SIM-based cryptography and complementing it with risk analytics, organizations can move beyond passwords and OTPs to a model that is both safer and smoother. With growing adoption across telecom and fintech ecosystems and strong investor momentum, Glide stands out as a compelling option for modern identity verification.